Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the third workshop of Algoarena, organized by the Leo Club of University of Sri Jayawardenepura in collaboration with IEEE Student Branch and Computer Society Chapter. I'm Himasha Ramasurya, and I'll be your host for today's session. We are so glad to have you all joining us for this exciting and informative evening. And also, we have a quick announcement for everyone. We are thrilled to let you know that every participant who takes part in throughout this workshop series will receive an e-certificate for their participation. To get yours, all you need to do is fill out a Google form that will be shared during each session. So make sure to pay attention and complete the form when prompted to secure your certification. Before we begin, let me give you a quick idea about Algoarena. This is an inter-university coding competition organized by the Leo Club of University of Sri Jayawardenepura in collaboration with IEEE Computer Society. It consists of two rounds, the online preliminary round and a physical final round, along with the skill building workshops like this one. This project also gives a platform to showcase Leo Club projects across Sri Lanka, encouraging learning, collaboration, and leadership among students. Now it's time to move on to the main part of today's session. We are really excited to have with us Mr. Sabilashan Ganeshan, the VIP partner and ex-control lead at Perplexity, ex-researcher at YRC, Basis AI Fellow, AI Automations and Educator. He'll be guiding us through today's topic, how to use prompt engineering for mobile development and machine learning, by sharing his valuable insights and experience with us. So without further delay, let's welcome Mr. Sabilashan. Sir, over to you.
Yeah. Am I audible for everybody?
Yeah, am I audible for everyone? Yeah, can I get a thumbs up from you, Himasha, in case you can hear me? Yes, awesome. So I think they already gave you all a quick idea of what I do and everything. So this session, I don't want it to be like every other session where you all would oftentimes go through a long procedures of total number of like just listening the entire thing. So what's going to happen is I'm going to do a complete session on how prompt engineering works, but not just that. At the end of the day, I will also be giving you access to some content y'all can reuse to sort of improve the entire procedure of how prompt engineering. I hope that sounds clear and good for everyone. And without further ado, we can just go ahead and start. Let me just share my screen. And yeah. Okay, so I hope everybody can hear me, right? Yes. So first things first, I'll just go ahead and give you all a quick idea of what we are expecting for the day. And also, the entire content for today would be done completely by prompting. And I wanted to do it just to prove you all the fact that you would be able to do all these things in the fastest time possible. So um, I'll just make sure that everybody can hear me perfectly. Yeah. And yeah, awesome. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to give you the access to the link and I'll just give you a quick overview of what we are doing. And then continuing from that, y'all can make use of this to go ahead and continue the rest of the content. Right. So first things here for the day, we'll be beginning with what overall prompt engineering is, right? So we will be having a large number of demos alongside that. So hope that will be also helpful for you. So this is a completely built in. So the entire section built, except the content that's mentioned, is made by AI, and also all the different components you see, as well as all the different demos that are there. All those are also built with AI. So just showcasing an example, right? So you can see there is a server here. So if I'm just clicking that, you will be able to access one of the programs that was built. This was completely done through AI by proper prompting. So first things beginning, right? As prompting in its own, people oftentimes confuse the entire terms of how conversation works with AI. Now, that is not prompting. Prompting is overall to say what you can think like a context, or maybe like a base idea you give it to an AI model, and then how it works with it is what we generally call as prompting, right? Now, there are good prompts and bad prompts, and each prompt has its own volition of how it works. Now, how do we effectively design proper AI models and their own prompts, right? I mean, you all used AI in general so far, including models like ChatGPT and Claude and so on and so forth. Now, what makes a prompt standard, right? A prompt in its own would simply be not just a query. Like, for example, I would love to show you all something, and this might be a best way for you all to understand how generally AI works. So there's something called as LM Arena. The purpose of LM Arena is for you to be able to compare and check how different prompts work as example statements, right? So I'll also drop it here so you can see two different models are here, right? Now, we can't always say that a single prompt works best for everything, right? I mean, for example, let's say, for example, think a model has a 7-year-old or a 12-year-old kid. The model is capable of understanding that, how it is able to collect all these different information and perform its task is generally what we expect by saying as a model. Right now, alongside that, something else I would like to state is actually I'll show you something. So you have two different models here, and we will be doing a variety of tasks today. We'll be starting with understanding how prompting works, and alongside that, we will also be doing a little bit of coding just to have an idea of how it's all going to be happening. Right? We have two models, and this is something you can use to compare these models. Right? For example, I'll show you what's the difference between a bad prompt and a good prompt. Right? I want to get a quick, so since this is all about mobile application development, right? So I want to get a quick and very simple script to be able to showcase, let's say a clickable icon, right? A clickable icon code with Flutter. Now, this is what I mean by a bad prompt, right? As you can see in the screen, this is probably a bad prompt. Reasons: first things first, we haven't assigned a role for the AI model, right? We do not know what the AI model is thinking of itself. We said clickable icon code. What if it just shows code in an icon, right? That's one example. And so on and so forth, right? How do we improve upon it is what we are going to be discussing for today, and even give it examples of how it works in general. So now, beginning it, it's just how prompting is like not a query, it's like a programming language we think for AI. And it's how we can be able to build different pipelines that we are expecting. Now, I have shown you a complete statement. This was done from a research that we recently conducted. So you can see that without prompt engineering, this is what people usually do. Make login page for application of a note-taking app, right? That is something called generic, incomplete, and not really the best option. I mean, actually, just to keep things awake, I hope that everybody is able to access and also able to showcase different emojis, right? So can anybody raise their hand who have got everything done in a single prompt? Any application development in a single prompt? Okay, we have Varuna. Okay, great. Awesome. Um, Great. Anybody else? Okay. So you can see, right, out of the entire set of people who are here right now, the number of people who raise their hands for a single prompt itself is pretty odd, right? But how about people, how many here have developed an application with more than three prompts? You can raise your hand. Just one? More than three prompts. Could be 4, 5, 6, so on and so forth, right? So, okay. Awesome. So, great. Awesome. So, continuing that, right? In general, I would say prompt engineering on its own would be able to improve the speed of any tasks you want to do as quick as possible. As what I mean by that is, take for example, how long it takes for you to sort of generate your own UI and build your own UI, and how fast can an AI model do it for you, right? That is a good example. And in general, it's all about interactivity, right? And how it all processes and works in general. Now, prompt engineering, I want to put it in the most and simplest way possible. So y'all don't get confused as to what we are doing at the moment. So to get things started, right? I would say this is one of the techniques that you can generally use. I'm going to give you all a framework you all can follow throughout the entire procedures of trying to learn and trying to develop anything. And based on how it works, you can improve upon it, right? First one, we use this formula called RIC. RIC is one of the formulas, okay? RIC is one of the most simplest formulas that you can use. Another one is called kernel, Kernef. So kernel is K stands for keeping it simple, and so on and so forth. Now, prompt structuring on its own, to be simple, I would state that you have to have a role for your model. That's first thing. Your role identification should be perfect. Then following that, you should be able to clearly provide a suitable input and a context. Now, what do I mean by input and context is not giving it an input. You have to give it a structure. Now, I heard that y'all will be doing a bunch of mobile application development as well as solving a bunch of algorithms, right? Now, let's think of AI model that is going to be used for ML cleansing, meaning you have large amount of data and you want to clean these data out to improve the entire use case. So to begin it, you can go ahead and assign it a role, right? A simple role as possible, meaning you can give it a role as like, for example, here you are a data scientist. And then what is the context? Meaning what it is going to or meant to be doing, right? That's one arm. And another one you can think of is how generally models on its own would be able to understand the context, background. Now, something to be careful, right? Do not overdo the context. Overdo in the sense of do not type too much of context, because if you do, that would effectively reduce the amount of quality that you get from your entire development. So you have to be a bit careful about it. And then different prompt types exist. So I have provided the basic prompt types here. And alongside that, I will also be providing you all another repository you all can use throughout your entire development sections to understand the techniques. So I will also be showing that right now to you all. This also contains a various amount of examples too. So, and then you have constraints. Constraints are limitations, what it is supposed to not do. So we have a role, which is who are you? And then input, what it is going to be managing. Context, as in the storyline, the plot, right? What are the requirements? What's the background of this? What are we expecting it to do? Constraints are what is it supposed to not do? Now, I am not sure whether you all might have heard about this. Recently, one of the developer have developed a tool with lovable.dev, trying to develop a complete program, and then was trying to modify their database. an accidental prompt ended up causing the entire database to be deleted without any backup, right? Those are problematic situations that can happen, which could have been prevented if people go from the entire conversational prompting into more of a role input, context, and constraint based prompt. Now, adding to the entire set of prompting, I would like to show you all a document that I own. So this will be provided for you all too for each prompting. So we have over 63 number of prompting techniques, but I'll give you all the base 18 and then the main five. So for you all to have an idea. So initial prompting structure is what we call as the role prompting. That's where you give a role to an AI model and ask it to follow the style, tone, or expertise you want it to. This is the basic form of prompting that generally people use. And this would mostly give you a response that you're actually expecting it to give you without having any problematic statements. For example, you are a Python tutor, refactor this function to be more efficient. And then we give it the content. So you can say a few things, right? We have given it a role is the Python tutor, and then we have given it a task, which is refactoring the function. Now, this is going to be used when you want it to control the tone as well as the expertise it needs on a specific domain and knowledge. If you're going to be solving a bunch of lead code problems, algorithmic problems, or even developing applications, being relevant to the role might oftentimes improve the entire focus you want, rather than making you repeatedly prompt by having issues. Right now, this is not the only form of prompt that exists. Next, we have what you call as chain of thought prompting. Chain of thought prompting is where you encourage the model to sort of reason the steps out. To be much simpler, right? Um, I hope everybody here knows about DeepSeek. The DeepSeek is the AI model that was provided by Chinese. So this model, when you ask it a question, it has a thought process behind, right? That thought process, it's what you generally call as a chain of thought. So chain of thought prompting is how you generally think about prompts as general and how you can sort of control the entire thinking process that an AI model has. Okay, so let me just show you all a quick example of what I mean by a thought-based prompting, right? So we have two different models. Each model works differently. I would like to actually use DeepSeek's expert thinking. So that's going to show you something as well as another thinking model, which is, yeah, Claude Summit. So we want it to help us develop. Am I audible to everybody? Can I have a raise of hand if I'm audible? Yeah, okay, awesome. Then, continuing further, we can, as in like showcase your example, we want to develop a quick section of how we can use these different AI models to generate a quick structure for, let's say, a note-taking app, right? So we can follow the exact concept, right? You are, um, we have to give a specific function, right? You are a React native stack developer at Google. So you're giving it a role that it's supposed to follow on. And then following that, we can continue forward with the rest of the content. So you have given it like a React Native full stack developer at Google. And after that, you can tell it few other things. Yeah, guys, I'm so sorry, by the way. Just had a quick, some sort of an issue. So now that's dealt with. So I think we can continue forward. So yeah, so we were leaving y'all on terms of how does this entire procedure works, right? So continuing forward with that, I would say maybe the next section here, so we can give it a role, which is you are React Native full stack developer, right? Input. What are we trying to accomplish here? What's the exact role that we are trying to play? So the input, or you can even mention task if you are preferring that. Okay. So that is going to be develop a simple script for a navigation bar. Okay, just a navigation bar. If you want to be more specific, you can be like, you can mention what sort of a navigation bar you want. Okay, this is an example, right? So we have given that, we have given the role. So I'm just following this exact structure. I'm giving you like role input and then the context. Why are we trying to do it, right? You might think it's not relevant for the AI model to know what's the purpose behind it, but the more the context you give it, the better the entire model works on its own. So context is going to be developing an application to readily take notes and summarize using AI models and provide voiceover instructions, like something like just freestyling at this moment. So then the constraints, what do we do not want it to do? What is something we don't want the model to do at this moment in time? First thing, only provide the script for navigation. Okay, that's first. Next, what are the other things we are trying, right? Do not build the entire application. We don't want it to completely build the entire thing and provide us with errors. We have to like get it all and all of that. So then provide in Markdown. Okay. I'll say the reason, right? Markdown, JSON, and XML. These three, so I'll just write it, right? Markdown, XML, and JSON. Okay. These three are usually the best formats you have to use in terms of developing any code, right? The reason I'm asking you to provide me in Markdown is because then it's not going to be visually generated, so I can easily copy paste it. I can drop it in a GitHub repo, and then I can retrieve the content from it. Like that's the overall idea, right? Or you can just, if you don't want it, provide in React, right? That's what you wanted. And once we are done, we'll send it and we'll see how it works, right? So now the reason I'm showing you all this is to showcase you all about the thought prompting. So you can see the entire thinking process it's going through as to how it works. So you can see both the models and how both the models are performing at the moment in time. That's going to give you a quick idea of how everything works. So you can see both are going ahead, developing the scripts that we're expecting. And then you can actually decide which is the most better one and which is not the most better one, right? So yeah, as you can see, it's Claude Sonnet 4 is already done, right? So you can see this entire thinking process, right? So do not be confused that this thinking model means the AI is able to think. That's not the meaning of thinking at all. What they are meaning by expert thinking is they have set up several background overlays to make sure that the AI retrieves the same content repeatedly to understand how it works. So that's what you call chain of thought prompt. So it's going to reason it out step by step so that it sort of understands the entire logic as well as it gives you the transparency for the entire reason. Because once you have the transparency, you would oftentimes improve the entire focus of how you're building it and everything, right? Then you have few shot prompting, which is where you don't do a single prompt, but you do multiple different prompts and sort of give it reasoning. So I suppose everybody here knows how reasoning works, right? So this is similar to how deductive reasoning is there. We give it an input where we say 2 plus 3 is going to be 5 and then 4 plus 7 is 11. And then we want it to do something else where we give it an input and expect an output, right? This is where you're demonstrating the task before the model is asking to be given opportunity to give you the answer. Why is this going to be helpful? Because it's going to give you that consistency that you're expecting, right? Then next thing, you can consider zero-shot prompting. This is where you just give it a task, nothing further. This is mostly preferable for quick tasks. Quick task means you can think of quick modifications of padding, and then margins, then length of an object, and such and such. So this entire document has been provided to y'all, so y'all can go further with this and understand how everything works. I hope I have dropped it in the chat, and if not, I will drop it now. So let me just drop it here. Yeah, I'll just share it for everybody so y'all can go ahead and understand the entire technique and see how it all works. Now, for users who wanna look into more of these different prompts and everything related to that, what I would suggest is I'll give you all a link for a channel that you can take a look into, which has all the different contents in AI, and you can make use of it as you need. So, continuing further, we were pausing at the prompts that we were talking about. We were talking about core prompting techniques and patterns. So we understood the basics, the main one, and then we have something called react prompting. But we call it as think, act, observe, and repeat sort of prompting. It's where it's going to reason and it's going to act it out for you. And then tool use prompting is where you sort of do API calling. So can y'all raise hands, anybody who has built some sort of an agentic system before? Anybody who have done any agentic systems? Okay, we have Basindu who has built. Okay, so apart from him, anybody else? No. Okay, no worries. So deploy your own AI model to Azure model. Okay, awesome. That's even better. So that means I'll just show you all something as a quick example and an idea, right? As you using a AI model in general, when you attempt to try to build your own agentic system, it's very important to understand how tool use works and how prompt engineering best practices are needed. Because if you do not, your output structure is going to be pretty dominantly bad. Why I mean dominantly bad is because, for example, if you all have used Siri, right? When you do Hey Siri, it is capable of doing a variety of tasks, right? For example, you can mention Lumos for it to start your flashlight, or you can ask it to call somebody. So for each of those tasks, it is only capable of doing it because it is given that opportunity and the access for tool use. Tool use is where once something is triggered, they have to make use of a specific tool. This is what we mean by also MCP servers, Model Context Protocol, which is done by Claude, and how it all works. Now, using explicit format, right? So we are going to be using JSON, XML, Markdown, which is general, or even coding blocks are preferable. So you can see we developed two different things, right? So you can see, but what was the expectation, right? We wanted it to only provide the script for the navigation bar, not the entire application. But on this side, you can clearly see that it has done us a header in React as expected, but it performed it in 2 minutes 25. So it had to think a bit onto the entire procedures and how it should do it. Here, on the other hand, Claude Sonnet did the same thing, and it has actually done it as we expected. So you can see the entire like React Native animated hamburger menu and everything related to that. Right now, from this, we just know that how different models work. And in case you all want to check out how these quality of code works, I'll provide it for y'all. So y'all can actually use it on your own and do your own testing for frameworks to understand how it works. Right? Then, similar, the example is also given here. Right? So creating an application with JSON for to do, for title and database schema. Now, I'm not sure which model you all would generally use to develop. And this is something I would like to state in my own thought procedures and from the experience of building a variety of applications and using AI models, as well as using AI integrated development environments and chatbots, right? The most preferable development structure would be React Native and Flutter. Okay. React Native and Flutter are probably the most suitable options. And I would actually say Express and React. So the entire structure of different frameworks, right? They are much preferable than you building from any other sort of development. So um, maybe in the chat, could you all drop it for everybody? So what sort of a framework do you all use to develop? Are you all a React individual or React Native, or are you all more of a Swift, any iOS or Flutter, right? What are we expecting? Or even Android Studio, I don't mind. So can everybody drop it on the chat? I would love to see at least 20 plus. So I can show you all something according to that. So only Basindu was able to drop, right? How about others? Okay, we have Android Studio. Then anybody else? Any developer for Swift? Swift, iOS development frameworks other than Flutter? Any iOS developers? Okay, nobody. Okay. Then we don't have to sort of worry much. I think it's interesting to actually use Android Studio to develop. It will be very good. But on preference of developing with AI, and I understand that you all would be developing with AI models, right? I make use of Cursor for everybody's knowledge. Okay. I'm not sure whether you all can clearly see the code. Okay. Now I suppose everybody will be able to clearly see it. So this was something that was made in the last few hours, right? So the entire framework of how it works and everything, right? So I did not want to build something very simple. What I've done is the dashboard that you all are seeing, as well as connected to multiple different models of frameworks that works, right? So we'll be going over the entire thing. This is roughly 8,000 lines of code, the entire thing, right? Including the server setups, how everything works and everything. So if you all go to the GitHub repository, which I have dropped in the chat, y'all can actually take a look and how it all works in general. So I'll also show y'all a way that y'all can do it and get it set up, right? So clone the repository, right? Clone the repository, and once you are done cloning, you just have to go ahead. So if you're not sure how many here are Linux developers, so if you are, I've still provided content for you also. And then after that, you have to like go into the entire section, and you sort of have to develop the entire content. It's important to understand you should be able to build your own .env. That is your environment variables. I have given. So if you all go to the framework, right? If you'll go here, so you have to create your own env, which is not done, but I have provided you all the way that you can do it, right? So people here, I'm not sure how you all have access to different API keys. So personally speaking, I would prefer if you all make use of Open Router, right? Open Router is an interesting AI provider. So this has access to all different models of AI tools, and you can sort of even make use of any models that you want, right? Let's say you want to use, so I want to use something that's pretty much free, so y'all can also redo the entire thing without having to overthink the entire procedures, right? So y'all can see the different models that are available. So y'all can make use of any of these models, right? Now, as that's going on, we can continue with the rest of the session, which is understanding by use case. So analyzing data, so I've given it in a format where you have given it a task, and then you give it how many you want, and then which sort of a format, output format you're expecting it to give. Or another one, which is you're giving it a task, and how should the task be done? Meaning, what's the expectations of us? And then the next one, writing API documentation. Now, for the ones who do not know, I am at the moment in time using Comet. Comet is an AI browser from Perplexity. So it pretty much makes my life wonderfully easy. The reason I would say that is because right now we have this entire framework, right? Let's say I want to see the security level of this cleaning demo that I have made for you. right? I want to see how secure this entire thing. Well, I want to build the entire API document. You shouldn't have to do it on your own. You can use the assistant to do it for you. So I can be like, use the screen and check the app.py for security flaws. Okay. Let's say I want to do that. I can let it do, and we can have it perform this. So this is a product from Perplexity, which is completely made available for students. And all students who do make use of these sort of models will get access to a month of Pro, so you all don't have to worry about having access to API keys. And every participant here gets access to $5 worth of API key if they are using Perplexity for the first time, right? So you can see I haven't done anything. It is accessing it on its own. So while it's performing that, we can actually go ahead and continue the rest of the session. So at the end, once it's done, we can check the entire thing. So let's go here and continuing forward. We will be seeing few examples of how it runs. Okay. So what I would love to do is, what I've done is in terms of the different frameworks that you can do, I have built an LLM testing model. So that is to check the entire steps, right? So you can see how you can automate the coding steps in pipelines and everything. So what I have built, I'll show it to you all. So you can see a whole number of examples here also. So into ideology, right? So in terms of data cleansing, when you use these different models to develop your frameworks and systems, you need to understand that it is important to understand that how clean you keep the data is very important. So you can see the entire prompt that you may have to use. So keeping it simple, keeping it as simple as possible, because you don't want it to problematically cause you any error. So I have made it more generic for y'all. So I have kept it open for interpretations in terms of what you're trying to build. So what I would love to do is show you all a few other things that we have done, right? So if you all go to the entire repo, so I hope you all have made a clone of the repo. And if you all have not, you all can mention me about it, right? So once you have done a repo, so you can create your .env, and .env you can do the rest of the setups, right? And then let me show you also. So let's okay, let's show you how you can actually make use of this and sort of run the entire thing, right? So we'll try to run that app.py file, and it's built within the local host, so you can sort of see it right then and there. So you can see it here. Okay. So what we have done is so this is an example of a tool that you all can build. So this is, as I mentioned, you can build it for a mobile too, because I have again done it in Python literally. And I made it with multiple different tools. So we have a Python-based system, then I have React Native-based UI developer, and then model analyzing, and then even node summarizing. So what we are looking at here, so as I can, I'll show you all the entire framework here. So you can see the app.py. So here you can see the given prompt, right? Look at the simplicity of the prompt, right? The simpler the prompt becomes, the better the quality of output will be. Okay. So you can see that return only the cleaned CSV without any explanation. So we don't want any sort of explanation. And we are passing it to the system. And then once we are retrieving this, we need to make sure we are accounting for the rest of the issues that may happen. And I'll also show you the CSV file. So this is the CSV file that we will be uploading right now. So you can see that it has a variety number of data, but notice this, it says null, right? It says null for the age. So we have to account for that, right? Then another thing, you can see here, there's an additional amount of space for no reason. We don't want that. We want that to be cleaned up too, right? Here also we have the same sort of an issue, right? We want to sort of manage that too. And one more thing, we have duplications. So you can see the second one is Jane Smith, and We don't have anything here in the email, and the rest is there. So here you can see we have Jane Smith and nothing in the email, right? We are going to be trying out this in here, right? So let's select. We'll be selecting that as the sample data CSV. And we are going to let the model clean it up. Okay. So while it's cleaning, so I have used one of the reasoning models to sort of make the entire thing easy and effective to run. So once it's done cleaning, I'll show you all the code base. So once it's done cleaning, we can expect for it, right? Once it's done entire cleaning procedure, it would provide us all the data as we need it. Now, notice something. The prompt I gave were two different prompts, right? So if you go to the very beginning, this is the prompt we have given, the full prompt that we are expecting. But this is not the complete prompt. Reason we are calling one more prompt data, which I will be showing you now, and you will be seeing the size of that entire prompt. Okay. So if I go completely down, so this is the original prompt. This is the complete prompt that we'll be using. This will be inputted into the other prompt to make it big. So look at this prompt, right? So we are giving it a complete task, cleaning the CSV data using proper ML data cleansing techniques. And then how are we going to do it? It's like, what are we expecting, right? We want to handle the missing values. That's one. What are the missing values? We have to replace the median age. So missing emails could be given by unknown at email or leaving it as empty string. So these are different structures that we have given it to notice. And we have given it constraints, as I mentioned you before, meaning do not delete any specific rows. And even duplicate rows, they will be keeping only one copies. We won't be keeping duplicated rows. And then converting all into the date formats needed. And then fixing all the data types as expected. And we will only return the clean rows, don't delete any data. So let's go back. So as you can see, it's done cleaning. It has done before itself. So let's access the file to show you. Right. Let's open the file. And I'll show you all how this file looks like right now. So it's a comma separated value, which is CSV. So I'll open it in, yeah, much better. If I open it in, I would say Notepad, it's going to be easier for you all to understand. Okay, then I will show you all both the code side by side, right? So let me show you both the sections, both of the different sample.csvs. This is one, and this is the other one that we have. So as you can see here, so I'm just going to keep it both side by side for you to have an idea. You can see here we have 6, which is a repetition, which is not here anymore. Then we had an issue where Jane Smith doesn't have a mail, so we have made it into unknown at email. And then we had few null values, so we have replaced that with a digit. So this was built in, I would say, so you can actually see the very bottom corner, you have the entire prompt. So I was able to build the entire system in less than 3 prompts, the entire system that you're viewing right now, right? So that is an example of a tool building and how it works. Then we need to be more specific to what we are expecting here, right? And by the way, the entire model I have mentioned you is also done. It has found some issues, right? You have the issues, it's running on different ports and lost. And then our referrer is going to be again a local host. Then the API keys, validations, and all these. So when you all have any issues of trying to develop APIs and documentations, it's much preferable to use these sort of tools to make your procedure go faster and not waste time. Now, that's not the only one, right? So there are different other prompts you all can make use of and use that to understand how it works. Now, for our focus, we'll be focusing on mobile development. And for that, I have made another tool which you can be making use of. But before that, I would like to show you all how you can use AI to sort of speed up the entire focus of mobile development. So first things, right? I would like to show you all something called Visually AI. So I'll share all the access for Visually also. So what Visually does is you give it a bunch of text and it will be able to convert that entire text into a UI model, right? That is generally what Visually does, right? I will be providing this in the chat too, so y'all can make use of that. This is not as simple as you'll think, right? So this is going to be very easy for y'all to do. So whatever the framework you're expecting to be given, you can sort of speed that up and use it to sort of develop tools faster. So you don't have to waste time sitting and making wireframes. So the best idea for y'all is you can build your wireframes using this. Then you can get cursor and drop it as an image. And you can drop it as an image. And once you have dropped it as an image, you can go ahead and continue forward to build the entire program you expect. Now, this is the first example that I have shown you all in terms of development. Let me also show you a few other examples to have a better idea of what we are trying to do for the day. Right. So yeah, so I'll be running all the servers to show you all the rest of the tools also. Yes, so continuing. So we were talking about different models and different ways of how these applications work on its own. And I've shown you all one of the different examples. Now the next one is what I called as the model evaluation. So for your development of, I hope that everybody who makes any sort of an application would be at the end of the day developing it with connected to some sort of an AI model. So it's important to understand that AI would be able to sort of manage the entire frame, right? You want to give a data set and then sort of evaluate the model. Again, this is done with Python. So I built it with Flask. Okay, so you can see the entire thing of how it works. Now, prompting is a very important structure. That's the entire focus of today, right? All your prompts, how you give it, very much matters. So you can see the current prompt I have built. So this is the prompt. You want to analyze it for the performance. We are going to be trying the model, the data set, and the number of samples along with the accuracy. So we have two different JSON files which have different content, and we are going to be checking how different one of them works, right? What we are going to do now is we have two different files I have made. One is a spam detection evaluation framework, and another one is a customer churn. So customer churn as in how frequent customers use certain tools and access, right? So we will be evaluating it here. The way you make use of this is going to be up to you of how you're going to be effectively making use of this entire frameworks. So few things to notice, right? You can see that I have, you can see these hashtags, right? These hashtags is because of trying to get the output in Markdown. The reason, if you get output in Markdown, you can actually get it to be used in your GitHub repository to be much faster, right? Now, that is a simple example that I can do right now to show out. Then continuing further in terms of mobile application development, which is what we are trying to do right now. Let's say we want to develop UI. We want to develop a mobile UI, right? That's the next thing we will be doing. Okay. So for you to develop a UI, you want to sort of get the content, but not all the content. You want to get the UI framework of how it looks like. Of course, you won't be able to develop UI with an AI model, except Visually, for example, right? But you can develop the code you need to get that visuals, right? That is something that you can pretty much do with mobile application development. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to open a new cursor application, and I'm going to show you all how different prompting structures and how you can actually improve your current prompting to be much more effective, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you all one of the spaces that I've built. So I have built custom frameworks for writing prompts fast. So I would not be able to waste time. So let's go ahead with yeah. Let's do React Native web app for mobile to display data uploaded as a CSV. Okay, let's do this, right? Let's actually develop in front. I'm going to show you all the entire framework in front of you, but this is what we want it to do. But we haven't provided any other content alongside this, right? So what's the output going to be? Markdown and a few other things to remember, structure. So today y'all are also going to be seeing a new structure y'all can use to develop frameworks. So spec document means specification document. This document will display all the features that will be there in a specific web app, right? Containing all the features to be built in its simplest forms. Okay. Okay, that's one. Spec document developed first, and the rest of the code base built accordingly towards the success of the spec document. So we are giving a success criteria. So this success criteria is how you make sure that AI model has some sort of a target that it's achieving, right? Now, we can't just let it go, right? We can't just simply give it an entire development and everything. We have given it a task, right? And we have to also give it a context, right? Let's give it a context and a role, right? Now, context. So by the way, context is not needed here because it's a prompt writing tool that I have, right? So alongside it, what I don't want it to do, right? Disallow or constraint, right? We'll use constraints, right? Constraints. Do not prepare confusing and unstructured file structure. Okay, but implement clean and simple within the spec document, right? So this is what we are attempting to develop right now. Okay, so as you can see, it is able to prepare a prompt you need, and it also gives you different clarifying questions, right? So this will be anyways provided for you all later to sort of improve the entire function. So let's actually apply. I'm going to be using this to show you all how I can actually develop it. Let's open a new project. This is open a random project, and right, let's just open a random one. Might be this is a bit too heavy for that anyways, because we are using so many files here. Let's try one more different folder. Let's create a new folder saying, let's just mention test. Right? So this is something that you all pretty much need to do when you're developing any sort of a tool from now onwards, just to make sure that what you develop is going to be done as expected, right? So we have to develop the spec document first, and based on the spec document, the rest of the content will. Now let's drop it here, and you can pick any model that you want, and We can continue further. Now, while it builds the spec document, we can go ahead and look at the rest of the session. So mobile UI generation is something that you can do with AI models. So I would like to show you all how it works, right? So here I have shown you an example. So for this, we have built a framework that you can make use of. So as you can see, we have the mobile UI generation here. In that, we have different variety of prompts that you can actually try about to develop something. So this is a complete prompt that I had to develop just specific for this session. So we want a React Native login screen component with the following requirements. We have given it the task. And then what is the structure? What are the things that needs to be there? What's the styling, functionalities? How is the integration going to be expected? And then what are the best practices we want it to do? And then we are going to be more like production ready. We will drop it in this tool we built. We'll see, right? How different prompts can affect, right? Now, if I generate the UI code, I will be able to get a React component, which will be using to showcase, right? Now, in the meanwhile, you can see here it's building the spec document that we discussed about, right? So once it's developing, we can also show you that. Okay, here you go. The entire completed one is right here. So all the UI models and everything mentioned, right? So notice something, it is providing in a weird manner where it doesn't cleanly provide the code, right? Let's implement a small modification here to sort of improve it, right? Okay. That's capitalizing actually matters when you're using any sort of AI model to generate something, because that's what it makes it to be much cleaner. So again, the same prompt, only difference is I implemented a new output structure, right? Because we didn't mention that before, right? We haven't said anything. We have only mentioned error message display area, best practices, and secure text entry. We didn't think about the output structure. Now, notice the difference. Before we were able to see a different sort of output, but now you can see the entire code base. So you have import React, the entire code base that you need, right? This was developed in that accordingly simple way. And this is an example that you can think of when you're trying to generate something. Now, are AI usages this simple and only this much? No, you can do much more. How many of you all had issues usually when you're trying with Postman? Postman try to get API setups, right? Even them you can do with AI models. Okay, so backend is the API generation, different APIs that you can use to develop, right? So that is again something I have built here. So you can see backend API generation. So you can use these different examples, like this variety of different structures I've given. Let's go for a simple booking system, right? We want to develop a backend API for booking system. So we have the JSON, but we haven't developed everything yet. So this is a JSON example, right? We can tell it what we wanted, right? So paste the JSON from the example photo, describe your API. Let's actually describe API, right? Let's do create equals here's backend API for e-commerce platform for purchasing and storing data. Okay. We are going to be doing very simple, right? We are going to just tell it what we want it to do. Now, how does prompting work? right? How is prompting relevant for us? Now, for what we have built here, the API that we have built. So once I go down, I can show you. We have two different types of prompt. We have a system prompt and then a user prompt. System prompt is what the system understands about itself. And then continuing further, it will be able to do about it. So then continuing alongside that, you'll be able to see how it works, right? So user prompt is how you get the user's idea. So what we have done here is alongside the previous prompt, right? The prompt that will be given by the user, we have attached another best prompt here also, meaning the entire expectation that we are trying to do. Now, if we go to the prompt here, we can see, right? So you can see the entire code that it has provided, like development ready. Now, let's do the same thing that I told you. Output, display only the code, right? No explanations needed. Okay. Now, we'll run it. A few other things also I would like to show you all is about guardrailing, which is very important with developing with AI models. So guardrailing is where you make an AI model, make sure that it provides you the content that you expect. Now, we are creating Express.js backend API, right? What if I switch this to Python, right? What do you think happens right now? Let's do it. So this is something I would like to show you all in terms of you all building your own tools with it. So look at this. It went ahead and provided me the Python prompt, but I don't want the Python prompt. I only want it to provide me Express.js, right? So what you can do is once you go to the main prompt, right? Once you go to the main system prompt, you can just go here and make a small edit. If any other requests of programming languages such as Python or C# endpoint or more exist, reject the request, then provide a text stating not allowed, right? Not allowed. Then express. Okay. Now we have made a small modification. Okay. Let's let's actually close one of that server. So this is we'll just run the rerun the server. This is server 505. Let me, yes, let's close the server 505. And then let's actually rerun that server, right? So I'll be rerunning the server, so which is node server.js. So for y'all who can't see, so I have a API section here, right? So this is what I'll be using to run it. Okay, so pre-displayed it. Now we're going to use the same prompt, right? We're going to use the same prompt, and we'll see what happens now. We can see what it's going to provide, right? So a few things that you can do. So I have shown you all an example of how do you implement a small guardrail within the code. But this would not always be the best option to do, because again, you have something called prompt injection, which can be done, right? Notice this. So using Flask Python, it's still providing me, meaning it wasn't the best implementation of us, right? So how do I fix it? We have provided this, right? The entire framework is existing. So it works in this exact way. The server.js just runs the entire server that we are expecting it to run. Then once you go to the generate API, okay, what we can do is we can sort of edit it further. So it just depends on your complete edits. Okay, let's mention this, right? What we are going to do is modify that structure to be a little different. Other than express JS, this prevent output any other program language, just Python. Okay. Stop any other output or text generation. Right. The more you provide, the better it becomes. Okay. Okay. So this is something y'all can actually look over later because then we are sort of running on time. So this is something you can focus to do. Now, in the mean side here, we have developed something. So what I told you before, right? Building a spec document. So as you can see now the spec document is built. So CSV data viewer, React Native web application, right? The entire spec document is built. Now, since the spec document is made right now, building the rest of the program is going to be pretty simple. Why? All you have to say is follow the spec document and build the application, and you're done. So it's going to continue ahead, start building the rest of the tool, just following the spec document, right? So here you go. So it's going to read the spec document and give it. So let me actually provide you all this as a code so you can make use of it. I'll be dropping it in that channel that I showcased it to you all. So you can use that and it'll be all the different tools that we need would be dropped in. So you can see the different tasks were set up. So what do we need? We need a different component architecture. We have to create the file structure, configuration constants, and the entire tables. So it's going to follow that stack structure to build the rest of the program as we need it. Now, the prompt that I gave you all, I would be dropping it in that channel. Like to develop any application with AI, you can use some sort of a function like that. Okay, start always with spec document because then it's going to be cleaner. You don't have to waste a lot of time in terms of developing or making changes. Now, let's say you have an issue with any of these spec. Just modify the spec and then tell it, make changes as per the spec document, right? So that is what we expect it to do. So you can see the entire structure is getting built. So when the images and then the entire TypeScript is also getting started along with the different screens and components we need. So this is something that you can look forward into and develop something accordingly. Now, continuing forward, I can show you. Visually, I think I have already shown you how it works. I've shown you what I'm meaning by it. Then another thing is mobile development workflow. When you're developing any development frameworks for mobile, you need to follow this entire structure, right? Start with UI. So even for UI design, you have to start with the prompting for components. And then it follows up with developing the backend API. So backend API is to ensure that all the functionalities that you receive and give are all working as intended. Then integrations. What are the sort of connectors you have? Please be clear on the connectors you would be implementing, whether it is Firebase, Supperbase, even if it is preferable for y'all, or whichever one y'all most probably prefer towards. Okay. Then alongside that, I would also like to show something else, which is how different sections work overall in speaking. Now, give me one moment. Yes. Okay. Now, then real example of building a to-do app, right? So this is something that I have provided, so y'all can go ahead and use this also to develop whatever you expect to build. So it will be easy for you to build accordingly, right? Then, right? Then continuing further, so you can see the rest of the content that we have here, right? Yeah, so you can see the rest of the content here, structuring details and everything alongside. Now, as a mini exercise, I have actually provided y'all something which y'all can use. So, and it's something y'all can do to sort of do it. So I have, even for this, I have built some sort of a note summarizer for y'all to try it out and how everything works in general. So let me show you all the notes. Here you go. This is the note summarizer that we have built, right? So we can drop any note that we want to and have it summarize the entire. Now, this was built completely again, following that exact structure that I'm giving you, right? This is the structure. You have to keep things simple, right? Keep things very simple. Start always with designing the UI. And if you get confused of designing UI, it's most preferable if you can go ahead and use anything else accordingly. Now, okay, then generating the backend logic followed by connecting different components and making sure they all work as what we expect it to go. And then following the components, Yeah, so sorry about that. I think maybe because I'm running so many servers at this very moment. So I'm running all the five different tutorials that I showed you all. Every single framework of that is running alongside building this new tool that I'm like showing you all, right? So that is also running on the side. Maybe that's the entire problem. So by the way, the program is built, the program that we were discussing about, right? It's done, completed, everything is good. So we will actually take a look into that and we'll see how we can improve its structure, right? That's something we'll be doing. Now, so structure is simple, right? We have to design UI first. Okay. To design the UI first, best option, Visily.ai, right? Go ahead with Visily, build your UI as fast as possible. Then once you're done with that, the better thing is you can convert the entire different pictures you have into PDF forms. So once you convert it into PDF, you can upload it to any AI model and get your spec document. Because it is important to have a spec document to develop a framework that you expect, right? Once you get your spec document ready, you can also mention the backend logic for the spec document, which will be usually done. And then you have to connect it with the different components, which is your APIs, system schema, or any summarizations or any backend frameworks you're implementing, and try to do it. Now, just an advice, right? Be very specific. Think of the AI model like a genie in a bottle, right? If you apparently ask it, hey, genie, I want to be an immortal, right? I want to live forever. The twist that's going to happen is you're probably going to live forever with old age, then health issues, all of that. Similar to that, AI model also works, meaning rather than just stating, hey, develop a script in Python for note taking, tell what sort of script. Do you want it to develop you a script to take notes or save notes or both? Do you want it to generate notes? Is it an AI model? Or what sort of validation should it do? Is it going to provide the output in like WordPad or Microsoft Word structure? Or should it give it to you in a markdown? What are we expecting, right? Be very specific and try to develop. Then iterate. Of course, understand that first output will not always be perfect. And you sort of have to look further into it and refine your prompt. So for that, it's just trial and error. Do a lot of trial and error, decide whether it's suitable or not. Then make sure that you break down all the complex features, right? For example, all the different complex features, if you simplify it into smaller components, it's going to go. A best example, I'll see if I can provide you the official prompt that was used to build the structure, right? For the entire different number of tutorials that you're viewing right now. I'll see if I can provide you. So I did a complete test case and everything, right? This is the official prompt. So created the entire project structure. I gave the folder structure. Then what sort of configuration do we want? Whether what are the different OpenAI and open router and everything? Then how does the .env should be done? What are the different demos that are going to be done? How does each demo work? And giving it a quick idea. So once it had the structure, it is able to prepare its own document. So here you have what you call architecture. Okay, so it has the entire architecture, and all I had to do was follow the architecture and build it, right? Simple as that. This is the high-level overview of the entire program that you're viewing right now, right? All the demos that you see are all built like this, and it's built on Open Router. And the 5 things you saw, like the entire workflows, right? Everything. Try to keep your documentation as simple and clear as possible, so it's easy for people to understand. And test early. Don't wait until the last moment to test. Because if you do that, it's probably going to be a problem where you find an issue which was because of issue you found in the very beginning, which because you didn't fix, it's going to cause further issues in the on the line. Now, for the note taker that we built, again, according to this entire structure that we discussed, I will show you how it works. So let's go to the note taker. So I have given you all sample that people can try out, right? This is a meeting note between Sarah Johnson, Mike Chen, and Emily Robbins. So we're going to see this is the entire meeting. What we're going to do is drop it here. And I want it to be detailed, right? I want to detail it more, right? Let's let it do. And in the meanwhile, while it's doing that, I will show you this in the site itself. Okay, so you can see it in the site here. Oh, it's done, by the way. So you can see the structure of the prompt. So if you go to the main.py, okay, let's close the AI pane, and then you can see here. So if I go very down, you can see each of the different things. So this is what you call as building a multi-workflow systems, right? You give multiple different prompts based on different structures. Concise, meaning here you saw concise, right? Concise means for summarize the following text in 3 concise bullet points. Detailed means detailed summary of this entire thing with insights. Extract the main keywords. TLDR is too long, didn't read, sort of things, right? You build it. Once you do that, user's prompt. User gives their prompt, right? That is taken as an input here. That's from the output that we are expecting. And then what are we returning? We are returning the success and then the original length also. Why? If I go very much down, you can see it here. The original thing that I dropped was 1814 characters, and then the summary is 3727 with a reduction of like 105% because we have built more, right? Then the entire configuration that we are expecting, how different summary tabs work, and all of that alongside. So you can see how this very simple thing was being able to build it into a further down document with more details as to like what the entire numbers and what are we planning to implement and everything that they mentioned, right? Now, these are not fake informations. Here they have mentioned, right? Sarah, so Mike has to fix the iOS login timeout by November 12th. If I go further, Mike fix iOS November 12th. So if I take a copy of this and drop it into any of the tools that we have, for example, let's put it into a GitHub repository, then it's going to be much cleaner as now, right? So learning path is going to be simple. For the entire workflow that you're attempting, try to make sure that you build something that would be much suitable and help you out with. Now, prompt chaining is also what I did there. It's multi-prompt, right? You do first thing that is passed to a second task, which is passed to a third task. That is what we are expecting you all to do when you're developing any sort of a tool with corrections and making sure that you use the LLM actually like a microservice. Microservice as in using the model to be much simpler in the backend to perform all the tasks you expect. You might have heard, right? You can call this some number, a random landline number, and an AI will answer the landline number and it will provide you all the output you need and give you the task. That is also an example. Then cost management and like sort of performance and everything. Right? When you're building something, try to keep everything simple and it will be easy. Now, since that is over, before we continue forward with the rest, let's actually see, right? Let's see how it works, right? So this was built right in front of you all. So you can, it's a completely built one. We'll see how to run it, right? We do not know how to run it now. We'll see how to run it. So we have the entire README. Okay. You have to do npm install and then run it. Okay. So we have the entire framework, but we are going to anyways be running it in the simplest form possible. So we want to install it, and following the installation, we'll be trying to run the web framework. So in the meanwhile of it doing the installation and us just checking everything, let's actually go ahead and go with the Q&A session, right? Any questions? Do we have any questions from the people alongside the entire session? Anything you all want to look into further? I know this was a very, very, very high end sort of a session with a lot of coding and the entire frameworks of understanding. So if you have understood everything, it will be much easier for you to develop any sort of a program and get ahead. Even building an entire company from scratch will not be hard. You can do it in less than 24 hours. Okay, so I have anyways set up some next steps for y'all. Like take a look into the entire project and could you drop the links using this tools using session. Okay. Actually, this was all custom built by me for this exact session. And just for the purpose of proving something to y'all, this was all built. Let me show you all that also, right? This was all built. I will show you all the first GitHub repo push that I did. So look at this. The very beginning push happened 19 hours before, right? This entire thing that y'all saw was able to build it in less than 19 hours and roughly then 18 to 16 hours so far, right? I haven't built anything today. It was all done yesterday in less than an hour to two. And then few hours earlier today morning, I just made a few edits to keep things a bit more beautiful, right? The entire focus is as such. So I think, again, like sort of take a look into it and improve upon it. So anything else? Anyways, I will be also dropping a link to one of the upcoming channels. It's just bunch of channels we are like running. So this is going to have all the different, all tech, right? Tech related ones for everybody, not just developers, but all the individuals. This will have all the different prompting you need, structures of prompting, how you use different tools and everything. And if you're going to be using Perplexity, please make use of spaces. I will also show you how to build spaces. So once you go here, once you go to a space, you can create a new space. And once you do that, here can give your names and everything. This is where you add your instructions. Add your custom instructions. What do you want the model to do? If you have a hard time building the instruction, you can probably ask ChatGPT or Perplexity to build the prompt for you. That's called as meta prompt, right? Then this is all the different frameworks that we were discussing about. So all the different prompting. So it'll be great if you all are building something and focus a bit on instructional prompting, which is something I mentioned y'all. You do multiple steps one at a time, and that's the overall idea. Yeah. If there's no other questions, thank you. And hopefully see y'all at future sessions, and maybe I want to see how you all develop something. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for that amazing and insightful session. The Google form has been shared into the chat. To secure your e-certificate, fill out the Google form and submit it before the session concludes. With that, we come to the end of the first session of Algoarena. On behalf of the organizing team, I would like to sincerely thank Mr. Sabilishan Ganeshan for being with us today and sharing such an informative session. We truly appreciate your effort and the valuable insight you've shared with everyone here. We would also like to extend our gratitude to our sponsors and partners and everyone who worked hard behind the scenes to make this session a success. A special thank you goes out to our knowledge partner, Article, official banner partner, Shanti Travels, and our official digital media partner, HackSL, for their continuous support. Before we wrap up, a big thank you to all our participants today. Joining today's session, we really appreciate your enthusiasm and engagement throughout. Before you leave, please scan the QR code shown on the slide to join our WhatsApp group and stay updated about upcoming sessions and event detail. And of course, our heartfelt appreciation to the organizing team for their effort and commitment in making this session a success. That's all from us tonight. Thank you once again for being with us, and we look forward to seeing you in our upcoming session. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.